Welcome to Build Your Dream Business, brought to you by Solo. More than just a booking app, we're a community for independent pros in hair, beauty and wellness. I'm Katrina, here to bring you closer to real stories of success from the industry's finest and share practical advice to help your business flourish. At Solo, we understand the journey of working independently, and our goal is to connect, empower and inspire you. We're here to make sure that even though you work solo, you're never truly alone. In today's episode, we talk to Maria Fairhurst about her journey from corporate estate agent to lash and brow expert. We discuss client relationships, pricing strategies, social media presence, and the importance of self-care. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you start off by kicking off how you got into the industry? Where did it all start?
So, I was an estate agent for the best part of 10 years before I went into the beauty industry. To be honest with you, I got to the stage where I was just working really, really long hours and actually not really making much money. I was just fed up of working for someone else, to be honest with you. So my partner said, I will support you in your change of career. So that's what I did. I trained in lashes initially and obviously then started to do like model appointments and friends and family. And then unfortunately we went into COVID. So business was a bit hit and miss then, stop and start. But yeah, that's basically how I got into this industry, and I absolutely love working for myself. Would never turn back.
That's a huge career change, going, from working for a big corporate estate agent to working for yourself and in a completely different industry. How did you find your first 20 clients? Was it those models? Were there any other kind of tactics that you used?
Offered model appointments initially. I think that's really important. When you've just started out your training, you can't pretend that you're better than what you are. We all have to start somewhere. So obviously family and friends, people that are close to you that are going to be more forgiving if you do anything wrong on them are your perfect model clients. And obviously, again, making sure that you're pricing your treatments properly when you're doing model appointments. You need to make sure that you're still covering your time and your product costs, but making sure that your pricing is reflective of the quality of work you're offering. So yeah, family and friends are your first starting point. And the other thing I did was one of the first things I did was set up a social media page for myself. So it's the best way to then document that work. So social media and friends and family were my first starting point for building my clients, basically.
How did you venture out from friends and family? Who was like your first non-friends and family client?
I live on the Isle of Wight, so it's a real small, close-knit community. So really just word of mouth. As I started to improve on my work, a friend then has a friend of a friend and they start to come to you. So it was, documenting my work on social media, and I started to get more followers, as you do, and also word of mouth in our community.
So it sounds like social media did have a huge part to play. How did you turn people looking at your social media accounts into actual bookings? Were there any kind of calls to action there? Were there any offers?
I'm obviously really busy now because I'm quite established. So I don't, to be honest with you, do many offers now. But that's definitely advisable when you're first starting out, to put things up for cheaper prices, or for example on Valentine's Day, if there's Valentine's Day coming up, you can use that as a marketing tool to try and get people through the door and obviously offer it at a discounted price. So it's trying to put posts out there to sort of target as wide an audience as possible. So you've got to think about things that are relative to people, so Christmas offers and Valentine's offers. Really try and sort of draw people in by thinking, oh, actually, yeah, Christmas coming up. I've got my Christmas party coming up. They're doing this service for less than, the beautician down the road, so I'm going to go with them. So offers and trying to pinpoint on things relative to everyone is definitely advisable to get people through the door.
Do you have like a social media routine or calendar or anything like that? Do you sort of, look at the month ahead and think, right, it's Christmas, I'm going to put out these posts, I'm going to put out this offer. How does that work for you?
So with offers, you need to make sure that you're not running them for too long. So you mentioned a month before, I'd say that's about right. So say you've got, Christmas the 25th of December, if you start to run an offer from the beginning of the month, gives people enough time to see the post, book in, but you're not running it for too long that you're losing out on income that you could achieve at a full, offering the treatment for full price.
Nice. And then once you kind of got them in, is there anything you do to make sure that clients keep coming back again and again? Are there any kind of special extra touches that you give?
I think the most important thing is really listening to your client and making sure you fully understand what they want to achieve from the appointment. So that's not just how they want their lashes or their brows to look. I mean, that is obviously important. I mean, what I think is a good brow might be completely different to what my client thinks. My client might come in and go, I want pencil thin eyebrows. That's not for me then to go, oh, well, actually, I think this will look good on you. You can guide, but you've ultimately got to do what the client wants. So not only that, but you've also got to understand how the client wants the appointment to go. So for example, when I'm doing lashes, full set is a 2-hour treatment. Some of my clients want to have a good old chat, we put the world to rights. And others just want to chill out and lay there and just relax. And a lot of people have a lash nap and fall asleep, which is absolutely fine. So it's just making sure that, you really take the time to understand what that specific client wants from their appointment, because the most important thing is that they're happy and they're comfortable throughout the appointment. And I think that's one of the most important things about people then coming back to you. If they feel comfortable and happy and it's a pleasant place to come for them whilst they're getting a nice treatment at the end of it, they're more likely to come back.
That's such a good point. I think the experience is such a massive part of it. You might have a client that's looking for their new lash tech or looking for the person they're trying to come back to. And say you've got 2 lash techs that have, a very similar standard of work. They both do what they want to do. But it then comes down to that experience. If you've got somebody who likes having a lash nap when they're getting their lashes done, but there's a therapist who just wants to chat all the time, of course, you're going to go to the person who, looks at how they want their appointment to go and lets them have that lash nap. That experience is so important.
Absolutely. Like I've been to, because obviously it's kind of hard to do your own lash extension. So, I changed, like we're all different as well. Like sometimes I'll go to my lash appointment and I'll have like a really long day and I'll be tired and I just want to go to sleep. And then other days, it might be in the morning and I'm in a really energetic mood and I'll have a chat with my lash girl. But she's the same as me. She's very good at judging the situation. And if she can tell that I'm tired, she just lets me like chill out and relax, which is so important to me. And I've been going to her for the last 5 years because actually, if I was going to a lash girl that I was thinking, oh, do you know what? I'm really tired today and I just want to chill out and I know she's just going to talk and talk and talk at me, it would actually probably stop me from going. So I think because I know it's really important to me as a client, I'm aware of that when people are then coming to me as clients on the flip side.
I can so imagine myself in that scenario. I used to get lash extensions fairly regularly. And I remember really looking forward to the lash nap after a busy day. I'd schedule them at the end of a busy week. And I know that it's a 2-hour snooze for me. And that's something to look forward to.
If it's an after work appointment, 9 times out of 10, people just want to have a little nap and then wake up with lovely, beautiful eyelashes. So I just chuck the blanket over them and say, you just chill out and have a little sleep.
And then you jolt yourself awake with your snoring. That was always
Don't worry. I very, very gently go, right, we're ready now. I don't want to just suddenly wake up. So, but yeah, no, that is the most important thing. I think it's just really taking the time to understand what your client wants from the appointment.
And I think that's such an advantage of being a self-employed professional as well. You can really build those relationships and kind of, get to know your clients and start to understand their personalities and, what their signals for wanting to chat are and what their signals for a lash nap are. You maybe can't get that if you work for a big salon and, you're not seeing the same clients so regularly.
And yeah, again, on the other side of things, a lot of my clients I now class as like friends because, you know, they come to me every 2 weeks and we chat, and the conversations that go on in this room and stay in this room, you know, we probably tell each other more stuff than what we tell our actual friends. So on the flip side, you know, when you do get clients that want to chat, you really do build up really good relationships with them because you're seeing them so regularly. So that's really, really nice as well.
So fab. It's such a nice position to be in.
It doesn't feel like work at all just because of the clients.
I've spoken to a few of our solo members and sort of beauty professionals, independent beauty professionals in general, who kind of cite that close relationship with their clients as a bit of a barrier to sometimes pushing their pricing up and reinforcing cancellation policies and things like that.
Yeah.
How have you approached pricing since you started? Have you put your prices up?
I have been doing this for around 5 years, and I've had 2 big price increases in those 5 years. The first one, I can't remember when it was. I think it was around the time we were coming out of COVID, and there was just like a general across the board price increase. So obviously that was the main reason the first time I increased my prices, because obviously I didn't want to fall behind everyone else. So it was just obviously making sure that I wasn't, you know, not making enough money from the treatments I was offering when someone else down the road was making £10 more than me. So that was the first reason I increased my prices. And then the second time I increased my prices was quite recently, and that was a more personal reason. One, because the last time I increased my prices was obviously about 2 years before, when we had that sort of general pricing across the board after COVID. I think obviously everyone just wanted to make their money back from what they've lost over COVID. And of course, everything just got more expensive in terms of products, and basically everything you buy, as we all know, just increased massively. So that was obviously reflected then. But this time around, obviously, I was looking at my price and thinking, well, look, I've got 2 more years of experience now. The treatments that I offer now far supersede what I was doing 2 years ago, because I have more experience and more practice, and now I'm offering better quality work. But most importantly for me, I moved from working from home to actually having my own salon on a main high street on the Isle of Wight. So obviously that was a massive extra cost that I've not had before. And I just thought it was a perfect opportunity to increase my prices then, to be honest with you. So yeah, that was obviously a price increase because of my personal outgoings, and the timing worked well as well. And to be honest with you, as long as you're confident with your pricing and knowing that, you know, you're not ripping people off, people are still prepared to pay. And actually, people are now coming to, rather than just a back bedroom, they're coming to, you know, proper shop with my logo on the wall. It's nice and clean, not too clinical, but, you know, it's a nice place for people to come to. And that's another factor. People will actually pay more. It's the whole package. It's not just the treatment you offer. It's you as a person, you understanding your client, and the place that they come to, making sure it's a nice, friendly, inviting environment to come into. So, you know, I've not lost any clients from increasing my prices at all. You've just got to be confident with it. If you know you're not ripping people off, there's no problem increasing your prices at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's looking at that full package of what you're providing, you know, 2 years more experience, a different environment that, you know, is not only costing you more, but, you know, is also arguably maybe more welcoming and, you know, a more luxurious experience. You're paying for all of that as a client. How did you announce your price increases?
I tried to make it as personal as possible. So all of my existing clients, as soon as I'd made a decision to increase my prices, when I saw them on their appointment, I just pre-warned them and said, look, obviously, as you know, I'm moving location soon. I haven't increased my prices for a couple of years. So just to pre-warn you that there will be a price increase as of such and such a date. The reason I did that was because I think it makes the customer feel valued if you speak to them direct about it, rather than just putting something up on your social media and letting them find out that way. And also it gives them the opportunity that if you give them enough notice, and, you know, if that's not affordable for them anymore, they don't feel then awkward. you've got to give people notice if you're increasing your prices, because it may well be that that extra £10 every 2 weeks just isn't affordable for people. So you've got to make sure that you don't put people in awkward positions. So yeah, if you can do it face to face with your regulars out of respect for them, I think that's definitely a nice thing to do. And then at the same time, I also then put a notice on all my social media platforms to say that, you know, just a pre-warning that as of such and such a date, my prices will be increasing. And that's obviously just to target any clients that, you know, have come to me on the odd occasion before and might be thinking of coming to me again, but it might just be for the random brow wax once in a while or something like that, or any new clients that might come to me, making them fully aware that my prices are going up.
Yeah, nice, super respectful, you know, kind of giving everybody an option to, you know, find somewhere else if it doesn't work. Nice. How did you decide how much you were going to increase your prices by? Was it kind of like I said, 10% across the board or treatment by treatment?
I actually went through and looked at everything treatment by treatment. Some things I increased more than others, but then to be honest with you, the things that I increased more than others, I was probably offering to a lower price anyway. If you were to Google like prices, for example, for lash extensions, a full set of lash extensions in London is like £120, which is mad to me because here on the Isle of Wight, it's like between 60 and 70. Luckily for me, the location that I've now moved to, Cowes, it's quite like an upmarket place. So I probably increased my prices more than I would have done if I'd, say, moved to somewhere else on the island. So that was a factor that I considered as well. But to be honest with you, all of my prices, depending on obviously what they are, because I offer a broad range of treatments, were increased by between £5 and £15. The biggest increase I made was on lash lifts. And actually, I'm glad I did, because it's been the most popular treatment since I've been here. I was worried that people wouldn't pay it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been really, but I think fashion's changing and it's like that clean girl look now, isn't it? Everyone's going for like the natural look. So yeah, my price increase tied in very well with the fashion changing. So that was good. But you've just got to look at every treatment, I personally think, is like an individual, because some treatments you might think, well, actually, you know, judging on the products that I buy and actually how long it takes me, that price is actually fair and I don't need to put it up. Whereas others, you might think, well, actually, my profit margin isn't massive on this. I really need to increase this. So for me personally, I think it's really important to go through every treatment as an individual and really look to see whether you can justify increasing it or not.
That's actually super smart. Sort of seeing, you know, lash lifts are, you know, more on trend now. So you can afford to increase that because people will be wanting them, even if they're more expensive. Do you find that like brands you use play a part as well?
Definitely. I mean, I would rather use well-known brands that I know work and charge that a little bit more than try and cut costs on brands and charge less. Because at the end of the day, the quality of the product that you're offering is most important. And I think most people would rather pay that little bit more for something that's going to work and look good than pay, say, £10 less and leave either looking like nothing's changed or after a week looking no different. So yeah, I've sort of tried and tested lots of different brands and have now found I use lots of different brands. You know, the brand that I use for my lash extensions is a completely different brand to the brand I use for my lash lifts. And, you know, I go to all different places, but it's about trying and testing the products that you think work for you rather than just sticking to the products that, you know, they tell you to use in your training. You've really got to go through and work out what you think works best.
You're the expert and you've, you know, performed treatments on clients for years and received the feedback and seen how things work. So you're in such a good position to identify what brands work best for you and your clients.
Yeah, definitely. And don't get me wrong, you go through like a lot of products that possibly don't work before you find one that works for you. And that's not to say that the product that didn't work for you might not work for someone else, but it's just finding what you get along with. The other thing is, like, don't be disheartened. Like, I say to a lot of people, like, doing anything in the beauty industry is like learning to drive a car. Like, you only really learn what you're doing when you start actually doing the treatments. The training is like, okay, you get the certificate to say, you know, you're competent and you know what you're doing, but you just got to try and test like the ways that things work for you. So don't be disheartened when you start out because everything seems impossible. You get the certificate to say, oh, you know what you're doing and you can offer this treatment. But actually, you probably don't know what you're doing at the beginning. You've just got to literally practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. And eventually one day it will just click and you think, oh, I actually know what you're doing. But yeah, knowing what you're doing in beauty just comes from a lot of practice and a lot of experience, really. I'm still learning now, and I've been doing it for 5 years. So each week I improve and I think, oh, that went well. So yeah, you're always learning and you can always improve. So the initial training obviously gets you going, but you really teach yourself as you're doing the treatments, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so funny. Getting issued the certificate that says you now know what you're doing, and you're like, do I?
Do I know?
Right, okay. And you can see how that can be scary because it's like, I'm supposed to know everything at this point. It's like, no, you're not. There's still so much, like a lifetime of learning ahead of you.
Scariest thing for me when I first started doing lashes, which is obviously the first thing I learned to do, was being so close to someone's face. I was like, I don't want to touch you. I don't want to hurt you. Now I'm like, right, lay down, do this. It's quite daunting. Like, you don't normally get that close to someone. So, and just, you know, you're so cautious, but that just comes with time.
Circling back to social media, you've got such a nice feed. Do you curate it? How do you kind of take such nice photos? They're really lovely.
Thank you. That's really, again, just come over time and with practice. I used to look at other people's photos and think, oh, how have you got your photo looking that good? To be honest with you, I've tried the fisheye lens and literally I can't get that to work. But to be honest with you, just use my phone. And I think it was since I upgraded to the newer iPhone, I've been like, oh, okay, now my photos look better. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, the close-ups are always a good one. But again, just obviously make sure that you're asking your client if it's okay to take a photo before you stick a camera in their face. But most people are quite happy, and I always say to people, like, are you happy for me to take a photo? So yeah, obviously, as long as your client's happy, get as close up as you can. And what I found with my social media, and I say the same to my partner because I run his social media as well, and he'll go to me, oh, Maria, you've not posted anything in a month. And I'm like, yeah, but it's pointless posting for the sake of posting because then that's on your grid. And I think one bad post is enough to put people off. Like, you could literally have 10 good treatments on there that look amazing. I do it, but if you see one that's bad, like, people, it's a bit like bad reviews when you look at hotel reviews. Like, you always look at the bad one and you think, oh no, actually, that person didn't like it, so we're not going to stay there. It's the same with beauty. Like, just make sure that you're only posting your top quality work on your grid. I tend to use my stories for photos that are okay, just to, you know, make sure that you're always appearing in people's stories, just so you're present still, but that after 24 hours they disappear, so they're not there for good. So I put my best photos on my grid. I try and make them as versatile as possible, rather than just having 10 posts of lash extensions. I'll obviously like post the lash lift, then I'll post maybe a product post to break it up, and then I'll post, say, lash extensions. So just breaking it up, so when people look on there, they can see the whole variety of things that you offer.
There's a lot to think about, isn't there? You know, you've got to work out what the best products for you are, how you know, sort of perfect your trade, how you manage your clients, like just your social media management, your photography. There's so much to think about as a self-employed professional. How do you manage your time? How do you make sure that everything gets done?
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, sometimes it can be really overwhelming, and I think the first thing is to just know that that's okay, and that you're not the only one that feels overwhelmed when you're running a business. Like, my partner runs his own business as well, and I always say to him when he's feeling overwhelmed, like, it is a lot. And the same with me, like, it's not just the treatment. If anything, the treatment's the easy part. It's the finding the clients, managing your social media, like you said, all of the stuff that goes on in the background that people don't really understand. But I think for me, it's just making sure that you are in control of your diary. And that's actually one of the features I like with Solo, that although people can request to book, I actually have to accept the booking. And sometimes people request a book and I look and I think, oh, I've actually got a really busy day and I don't want to tire myself out. Like, I've already got a really busy day. So it's okay to not accept every single booking. I think you need to just look after yourself. That's the most important thing, because also if you aren't at 100% yourself, you're not going to be offering the best treatments. Like, if I get someone requesting a full set of lashes at 7:00 in the evening, yeah, okay, if I've had a quiet day, sometimes I might accept that. But if I've got a full day before 7:00 in the evening, it's not in my best interest or my client's best interest to accept that booking, even if I've got the space. Because am I really going to provide my best quality work at 7:00 in the evening when I've had a full day's work? No. So I think it's just making sure you think, right, am I pushing myself too far? Or, you know, people, if they want a treatment done and they really want it done, 9 times out of 10, there will be another day or a time they can do. So I think it's just remembering that and not feeling under pressure to accept every single booking that comes to you. Either have a separate phone just for business, or if it is on your normal personal phone, just try and set this. Or if I'm away, so say, like, for example, I'm away this weekend, tonight when I finish work, I'll actually put something on my social media to say, client notice, just to let you know that I'm now away from work from such and such a date to this date. Any messages that I receive will be replied to on my return to work. So you're managing people's expectations, basically. So yeah, that's another really handy one as well. And it's amazing how much pressure that takes off you when you know you've written that on your social media. If you get messages through it, it's actually a lot easier to then ignore them because you've told people that that's what will happen.
Yeah, nice. They won't be expecting a response straight away, and you can send them your booking link and they can request a booking up there as well.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's so wise, sort of, you know, looking at your day and thinking about how it's going to impact the service that you provide. You know, it's not just, I can actually squeeze this in here technically, but is that actually going to be me working 100%?
In 5 years, I've had one complaint. It was an appointment that I accepted on a Saturday. It was in the middle of the summer, so it was like massively busy. And I think this was the one appointment that taught me just not to say yes to everything, because I said, yeah, no problem, I'll do it for you. And it was the end of the Saturday and I had a really busy week and was working all day. It wasn't an awful complaint. She just said they weren't full enough. But I knew they weren't full enough because all I wanted to do was finish work. So it just goes to show, like, she wasn't happy and she didn't come back to me. Whereas if I just said, oh, look, I'm really sorry, I'm fully booked today, however, I can fit you in next week. When I was less tired and less drained, I would have done a proper job and she could have been a repeat client. So that's a perfect example that just don't say yes to every appointment because it's just not worth it. And actually you don't gain from it either.
So smart. Like, if you're looking at the lifetime value of that client, you know, it takes a lot to get a client through the door. You're posting on social media, you're, you know, doing all these other bits and bobs. When you get someone in and they don't return to you, it means that they cost you a lot just to get them through the door. Whereas, you know, if you sort of moved into a different time, then yeah, as you say, that could have been a repeat client.
You know, there's more and more people popping up every day in this industry. So you do have a lot of competition, and you do one bad treatment or you do something that isn't your absolute best because you're tired and shouldn't have accepted the appointment really in the first place. And that's that client lost for good. It doesn't matter that if 3 years go past and you've learned your lesson and you've actually got a lot better, they'll just go, oh, well, actually, I've been to them already and they didn't do a good treatment. So it's got, you know, you just got to think of the bigger picture, really.
I know you sort of touched briefly on, you know, not looking at your phone on the weekend. Are there any other ways you create boundaries between your personal and professional life?
I think the phone is the root to everything these days. So That is the main thing for me, just making sure that I'm away from my phone, or if I'm on my phone, like I said, I put something up on my social media to say, I'm going to be away and I won't be replying to your message until I get back. So I think everything, sadly, is done through your phone these days. So that's my main bit of advice, really. Just manage people's expectations.
Before you decided to take the plunge into becoming a self-employed beauty professional, what was your biggest fear, especially after that big career change?
Oh, I think the same as everyone. Like, am I going to succeed? Am I going to be good at this? And like I said before, you're not at the beginning. Nobody is. I think the most important thing is you've just got to enjoy what you do. And at the beginning, it's not as enjoyable because you're not as good at everything, but you've just got to push through that. Because like I said, one day, whatever you're doing, whether you're doing lashes or nails or lash lifts, one day it just clicks, and it's literally like the best feeling, just thinking I'm actually getting somewhere. And it will take a while, but just honestly be persistent, because once you get there and you start to enjoy your work, like I used to go to work for the estate agent, and I thought I used to like my job, but it still felt like work. But working in the beauty industry for yourself, like I come to work every day and it doesn't feel like work. So yeah, just be persistent, because once you get there, it's really worth it.
Oh, amazing. And that was actually my closing question, which I kind of think you answered, what you could tell yourself at the beginning of your journey. And I suppose that's it, isn't it? Just persistency and not thinking that it's not going to get so much better.
If you enjoy it, then, you will be good at it. But I'll tell you the other thing that has really helped me, actually, and I've not touched on this already, but is when I moved to here from home, I always thought when I was working for the estate agent, I always thought, oh my gosh, working from home will be a dream, because how nice it would be to just not leave your home on a day-to-day basis. And don't get me wrong, it was nice. But in between clients, I get distracted. I either do the washing or end up playing with the dogs, more likely. And I switched off from work. Whereas when I'm here, I've got no distractions. So if on now the rare occasion I do have any gaps between clients, I'm either doing my social media posts and this is what I was going to touch on. So on my Instagram and Facebook, on my Instagram, not for any other reason than this, but I've got rid of any friends or anything that's not relative to my business and learning about my industry on my social media. So now, rather than just following random people that I went to school with on my Instagram page, I follow loads of other beauticians, loads of other industry brands. I follow my regular clients, because sometimes they'll post a nice photo with their lashes looking lovely, and then I'll message them and say, oh, can I use this photo for my social media? And that's really helped me, because then when I am on my phone, every time I'm scrolling through, it's something that's useful to my business. And I do the same on Facebook. I've joined loads of forums. So forums for lash lifts, forums for lash extensions. Every treatment that I do, I've joined a forum for. And again, now my feed on Facebook is not just, oh, look at this random reel of this dog. it's useful things, and it's amazing how many tips and tricks you can pick up from other people. So that's something that, I really recommend to people, actually making your social media useful to your business.
Nice. And yeah, then when you've got that in between client time, you're kind of doing that useful scrolling, aren't you?
Yeah, not just getting distracted by irrelevant stuff that's not beneficial to you. So yeah, it's really channeling your social media to benefit you and your business. I've found that's really, really helped.
Nice. That's a really great tip. What are some of your goals going forward?
So just to keep improving really on the services that I offer. Possibly at some point I might look to do some extra training, either in, different treatments, or potentially just more masterclasses in what I already offer. I advertise myself as a lash and brow specialist. I don't really want to come too far away from that, because for me personally, I don't want to be what I would class as a jack of all trades. So I don't want to like go too far from what I specialize in, because I think if you specialize in something and you get like really good and like the best at what you do in your area, you're actually more likely, weirdly, to become busier than if you offer every single treatment that you can think of, but just be okay at it. That's my goal, just to basically get better and better at what I do, rather than, broadening what I offer. I personally feel, I that would be my goal, to be the best at what I do in my area, really.
So interesting, Maria. Thank you so much for chatting to us today. So many fab tips, and I think so much for our listeners to take away. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for talking to me.
Thank you for listening. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favourite podcast app. If you like the episode, why not leave a review or share it with a beauty industry friend? And if you're curious about Solo, you can download it for free on the App Store or Google Play and take advantage of our free trial.